I'm really excited about today, and I hope you are too, because we have Jay Green, somewhat newly appointed Town Administrator in Adams, and Edmund St. John IV, always known as Ed St. John, the somewhat newly appointed Town Administrator of Cheshire. I wanted to have you two guys on together. The towns are sort of joined at the hip in one big important way with the school, but also you deal with a lot of similar issues. First of all, thanks for joining us, guys.
Well, thanks for having us.
Well, actually, going to start right here with Ed because I've been covering your meetings for iBerkshires for a while. I'll be butchering the story on your meeting tonight, as I usually do. And I was really interested in the Appalachian Trail campground. You guys went back and forth for a long time, and I think it was a good example of the town sort of coming together, everybody keeping a level head, and you guys found a solution.
Absolutely. I think you said it right. That was a great example of really the town and different departments within the town kind of coming together, having a real in-depth conversation, and seeing what potential issues were, kind of issue spotted what we had going on, and then coming to a resolution of this. This all started back in the spring when a member of the Appalachian Trail Community Committee and somebody from the church approached us and said, well, we're looking to come up with a new site. We investigated that. We worked together on that. The Appalachian Trail Community Committee came up with a proposal. Recognizing that there could be some potential issues, we asked all the pertinent, kind of parties to come in, the Board of Health, let's say, the planning board, the building inspector, all, to identify potential pitfalls so we weren't running into issues later down the road. So that when we came together and something was ultimately approved, that we had a strong product, if you will, in order to move forward that we knew was solid.
And these are all, I think a lot of times, because all these departments, Town of Cheshire, they'll all be working together. A lot of times that doesn't happen. You guys are well aware. It's not that they're against each other, but the Board of Health has an issue that the zoning board didn't anticipate, right, and back and forth. So I thought the cooperation was great. The minutia in these towns, which is necessary, a lot of it is legal stuff, even right down to the trash barrels, right, have to be talked about and approved at town meetings and selectmen meetings.
And a lot of people saw these as confrontational, I think, or as negative, to say, well, these other problems, and, people thought of it as, well, you can't do this because of whatever reason. And the way we looked at this was, no, this was a really, like I said before, really good discussion, an open discussion to have to see what are the pitfalls and how do we make this succeed, rather than simply just saying no. So it was a pathway to find an answer, yes.
And I think it was, and the campground will be at?
It'll be at a property formerly used by the water department. It's right off of Main Street. I think the technical address is 4 Main Street, but it's really right next to the highway department. It's pretty secluded. Gives campers some privacy, and we're going to be working on other accoutrements, if you will, to go in, water, electricity if they need to charge devices, and obviously
more important than have a cell phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean cell phones, to hikers, I think, are just so instrumental in terms of finding where they are and being able to communicate with the outside world should obviously something go wrong. So
that's something we can look forward to, especially the Appalachian Trail hikers, and local people can use it too for whatever reason if they want to. Yeah.
It's for basically one night, overnight camping. The exact phrase is escaping me right now, but there's a specific term for it. But no, these are, I think this was a great solution come to by a lot of different people. A lot of stakeholders came into this and really worked the problem and figured out a good solution for it.
That's for the Appalachian Trail, although the peak of Mount Greylock we know is in Adams. We don't get much hikers in Cheshire. Cheshire does. We don't get many hikers, I should say. I live in Adams. I live almost on Park Street, and I wanted to see that Park Street has been in such flux over the years, as any small town main street is. Give us a little something, Jay, if you would, about your vision for Park Street, or any small businesses that might be moving into the town. I know you work closely with your board chairperson, Christine Hoyt. Specifically to Park Street, but even small businesses looking to open in Adams.
One of the things that over the last 6 months I found from speaking with people, particularly small business owners, has been that turnover we've had as the building inspector. Like Ed was just discussing, it takes a village to come to a decision, particularly under town government structure. So some of the conversations I've had is that turnover in the building inspector, the inconsistency, and what are we doing to welcome businesses to town? What's a roadmap to ribbon cutting, as we've been calling it. So in my conversations, we've adapted that to be able to work at Town Hall. And if you're a small business owner, you'll be able to come in and have a very clear path, no matter what type of business you want to operate, how you get to that ribbon cutting. We're going to roll out more details as we go. We're going to try to do this for November, so this is a little bit of a tease for Small Business Month, but we're working on that so that if you're sitting at home or if you're looking to come into the Berkshires and you're looking at Adams specifically, you're going to know where to go and who to talk to make that decision. Park Street is beautiful. I think, frankly, of all the towns in the county, we have one of the nicest downtowns that hasn't been really touched by urban renewal. The key is, what are the landlords doing with their properties? Where can the town help to provide a fertile ground for them to come in and do well? But there's also snippets of success. If you look at Bella Sky, they just came back. If you look at Village Bike Rentals, they're doing a great job out there.
That guy's awesome. Yeah.
And I've eaten at the Grind.
Yeah.
I go to Coffee Liberation Front. I'm at the Red Carpet. We have foot traffic.
Yeah.
The key is what business fits, and frankly, what are the landlords doing with that property? It is a partnership, but at the end of the day, it's private property. But I think from the town perspective, the more that we can do in-house at Town Hall, our functions as an administrative body to be able to take somebody. Prime example is we just had a gentleman, a resident, wants to open a cigar lounge. He wasn't sure where to go. How often do you have a cigar lounge opening in a community? So we brought him in, we sat him down, not indifferent to what Ed just said with the trail, with all the requisite town departments. This is their component, this is their component. At the end of the day, he got up from the table, he shook our hands and said, thanks, I know where to go. And we hope that will launch to a ribbon cutting experience.
Real quick, give me the first step. I'm a stranger coming into Adams. I see a little piece of property, and I said, I'd like to open a business here. Who would be give me a name to talk to in Town Hall, the first person?
Jerry Garner, Building Inspector, or Donna Season, Community Development. Start with either one.
And they're always usually very busy, but also they do spend time at Town Hall. You can walk in, and if not, they're usually very responsive. At least that's been my...
Setting an appointment is the best way to go. Call up, leave a voicemail, speak with somebody, get an appointment. That way there, you're not disappointed, you're not frustrated. You can have that so important face-to-face.
Now, there's again, the two towns they are partners in the school district. And this sort of ties into both of that. Recently, the elementary school, it was a long story, in Cheshire was closed.
Yes.
But there's also a flip side. Adams has for many years, has hosted Youth Center Inc. up on East Street. The Cheshire Elementary was empty, for not too long. But recently, the Youth Center has moved to the former Cheshire Elementary. I think they started just a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
They still house the school district offices.
Yes.
And you'll have to remind me, there is another...
it's a fitness company called Berkshire Body.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
That's exactly right. So talk to us a little bit. That is a good opportunity. It's a great piece of property.
Yep.
We know the building needed a little bit of work,
Yep.
as every town building does. Talk to us a little about the reuse of the Cheshire Elementary School.
So while, certainly this was, the closing of the school was hard.
Not fun.
It was not fun.
No.
It was. It definitely had an impact on our community, and from that, I became hopeful. I think from that, especially after I became town administrator. Or let me say this: before I became town administrator, the town was in talks with the Youth Center in Berkshire Body to potentially lease those spaces. And then after I became town administrator, a little bit after that, I was involved with that as well. Basically just ironing out, the details of the deal. But this is a really great opportunity for the community to reuse this building. Right now, as you mentioned, the youth center is occupying approximately 8 classrooms in one of the wings. We call it the new building, which, was actually constructed in 1962, but, we'll call it the new wing. And they're using space there. The school district is using space there. Berkshire Body is using space there. And recently the town made a commitment to rehab some of the heating parts of this. We had some issues. While it's the new wing, we're dealing with old infrastructure. The piping, it's a steam pipe distribution system. So we're dealing with some old piping that we have to replace. So we're getting that out. We've solicited some quotes. We're trying to get some numbers on that. But the town, like I said, made a commitment to fix that. So We're also in the process of undergoing a Green Communities designation.
Yep.
And ideally, that's one of the largest buildings and spaces that we can have to really make some impactful, energy-efficient changes. And obviously the designation and grant money would certainly be helpful as well. So there is space in that. Long term, the plan has been to bring some town offices over there. Town hall offices. We have a beautiful town hall in the middle of town. It's small for what we need. I mean, the selectmen already had to move out into our community center to host our weekly meetings. So we want to be able to utilize more space within the school possibly for that. We have to make upgrades for that. So all these things are steps that we're taking in order to, again, talk to the building inspector. We've consulted with an architectural engineering firm to help us with planning that out and seeing what we need exactly. So it's been quite the process. It's, I think, been very beneficial to the town to have this space used, especially to have nothing against the youth center leaving the town of Adams, but we love having them in the town of Cheshire.
I think it shows a great cooperation that the Berkshire County is getting much and much smaller. Within 10 years, there's going to be a lot of shared services. Yep. Clarksburg is already might share with Vermont.
Right.
Pownell, I believe. I'm looking at Tammy Daniels back here. Looking at Stamford, the school districts, looking at each other. Is this correct?
Yes.
She's telling me yes off camera. And you're going to see a lot of this stuff. There's been a lot of competition in Berkshire County for businesses, as there should be, because we all care about our own hometowns. But in the future, I think that you're going to see much more people working together in this capacity.
I mean, not to jump on that, but I think with Jay coming into the town of Adams, I'm much more hopeful in terms of being able to share services and being able to have these real discussions. I mean, I can't even count how many discussions we've already had, and just of
numerous
brainstorming. What about this? How do you think about that? Nothing, too detailed yet, but we're really looking to what are the possibilities that we can do. I mean, as you say, we share a school district. We have obviously a border. We share a lot of things. And I think that developing that partnership, but not just with Adams, but possibly North Adams as well.
Yeah.
We had a recent meeting, with the mayor, just sit down. But the way I looked at it is that we share one continuous road that goes between three towns, which is Route 8. And
it's an interesting setup. It's three very diverse towns, very, very different: North Adams, Adams, and Cheshire.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end with you, Jay, and we are going over. We try to keep these to about 10 minutes because it is online, but it's too interesting, and these guys are busy, and I have them here, and I'm going to keep them as long as I feel like, quite frankly. The Glen has been talked about for decades. I don't care if you're from Pittsfield. Everybody knows about the Glen. And we will keep this short, so we'll try to. And I'd probably like to have you on again, maybe with Donna Season, to bring in all the fancy maps and all the fancy, because when I was on the board, there was a plan. There's been a lot of plans.
Right. In 50 years of history.
About 50 years of history. It's an incredible spot. So the next time we have you on, hopefully, we'll bring Donna Season in. We'll talk about the Glen. But to end, give me the next big thing happening in Adams. We talked about this a little before we started taping. It could be a good news, and it could be maybe a little bit of bad news, saying, hey, look, down the road, we're going to have to tighten up the purse strings a little bit because we need X. We need a new roof, or we're going to need something. What's the next big thing we have coming up in Adams?
The most important thing, the takeaway, is we're in good shape. We're in good shape financially. Our costs are under control. We have good reserves. The state of Adams is in good condition. What I can tell you for good news is we're getting a lot of interest in development, small development. Nothing we can make
that's
public.
Where it starts.
But we're getting people that are calling, inquiring about properties.
Yeah.
They're calling Jerry Gardner, our building inspector, to pull permits. We're seeing that interest begin to trickle down from North Adams as people begin shopping, because we're a part of a region, as Ed said. We can't look at ourselves in a parochial way anymore. We have to look at ourselves as being a region. We're working on the Greylock Glen. We have a lot to do. But what's good about Adams is the fact that there's interest.
Yeah.
There's percolating interest. I think the Stensons, who own the Mosser block, a lot of attention there. They're moving forward with a couple of things there. There's a lot of good things happening, but they're small, and we need to be patient. But it feels good. It's positive. and I'm glad to be there.
That's good to hear. Positive things in Town Hall in Adams. Real quick, I'll give you 30 seconds. Next big thing happening in Cheshire.
A lot of big things. We've got a brand new board, 4 new members since May. A lot of positive energy coming out of Town Hall, I think, and especially with the Board of Selectmen. The only trajectory is up, and I think we're really poised to make some really good decisions and really good moves in the future coming in. And, again, it's all about partnerships. It's about developing relationships with our surrounding communities, our legislators, every state agency that we can come to terms with. So we're really, I think, moving in the right direction. Like I said, great board, a lot of positive energy, I think, coming forward. So
I can't thank you guys enough for joining. I know I kept you a little bit longer than I told you I would.
No worries.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I promise I'll have you both on again. That's Ed St. John, Town Administrator of Cheshire, Jay Green, Town Administrator of Adams. They are friends of iBerkshire's now. I want to thank you for joining us. Thanks for staying tuned, and hopefully you'll join us again.